There's a lot of struggle, at least for me, that I find, you see on Instagram. Myself probably don't share enough of the struggle, to be honest, because it's very easy to just make this type of content that portrays that my relationship's epic, my business is great, when it's not like that. If we were to speak more about that, I would be way more authentic. I'd be way more, he's a real human. And as a result, would probably make more money and get more clients. My business isn't at the monetary goal that I want it to be at. Let me watch all these YouTube videos and learn from all these other gurus and experts on how to fix my lead flow. I've tried so many different strategies. None of them will work unless you're embodying that frequency.
Jordan,
Ryan,
welcome back.
the boys are back in town.
Number two.
1 year later.
Both the boys back. We've only got a short one today, so I'd like to start off a little bit about the disconnection between outer success and inner emptiness. So why do you think so many successful men still feel empty?
Mate, straight with the hard-hitting questions, eh?
Always.
Yeah.
It's no full play.
Well, it's funny. I've just come straight from another podcast with our guy Theo, and we were speaking exactly on this topic, which is, it's really revolved around the shadow, lack of integration from these shadow aspects. So if you're too focused, or if a man is too focused on external success, but is neglecting looking at what's in his emotional shadow, there's no amount of external achievement, there's no amount of women that he can have sex with or money they can make that can compensate for a lack of integration or wholeness with the parts of himself that are wounded, stuck in fear, ashamed, and all of that's in the shadow, right? So that's where so much of this work in spirituality or personal development, it's only effective if you learn to embrace the lows just as much as you embrace the highs. So if you're always constantly seeking highs and highs and highs, but you don't learn to go, hey, you know what, like being low is actually a necessary part of growth and development and for wholeness, then you'll always be chasing the next high and never really feeling satisfied or fulfilled or
Definitely. How do you demonstrate that to a client who presents to you, who is very high achieving, very externally motivated? How do you actually demonstrate to them that there's parts of them that they're still not owning that and that they're rejecting?
You look at what's easy for them. If working 12 hours a day and making lots of money and just like pursuing is easy, which it is for a lot of these guys, right? For us included, like it's easy to go out and just crank out a work day and just crush it in business or whatever. But it's sometimes hard to just sit and be still, or sometimes hard to do nothing for a week and just remove yourself from all the distractions and the noise and the stimulation. So wherever is hard for them, that's the path of it that I direct them to, which is usually just being in their own body is hard.
100%. And it's the same people who, what you say, are people who they're comfortable sort of sitting with themselves, but then they're not motivated enough. They need uppercut. They need more challenge and more liquidity.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny how a lot of think, particularly athletically gifted people or professionally gifted people, through hard work, they think that's resilience and that's toughness, which is like an element, but they still but emotional resilience is just totally. It's a ball game.
Totally different ball game. And you can measure the success of those people by the quality of their relationships with women, if we're referring to men. Because if their relationship with women is disconnected and they struggle to maintain long-term relationships, this is a very clear reflection that they haven't done the emotional resilience work, you could say.
Definitely. And that's going to lead into my next question is, where do entrepreneurs commonly not show up?
In their business or in relationships or in life? Well, it has to be their relationship for sure. I mean, that's obviously why I've kind of honed in on this particular niche and style of content. And that's why I feel that content does so well, is because it just hits on a nerve that so many people have experienced in their relational life, because it doesn't matter how much you succeed in business. If your partner, man or woman, is disconnected from you, you're arguing, you're falling short on an intimate level, that is going to pull so much energy out of you. Like no amount of money can solve that problem. You're in a world of fucking stress. So I think that's where we can see it's so easy to neglect or not show up in the relationship in the ways that are needed. But I like to preach and put across is when you get the relational depth right, that can feed back into your purpose, your mission, your business in ways that, like far exceed what the mind can comprehend. Because it's all a game of energy at the end of the day.
Definitely. When you say relationship, I always feel like the first relationship they got to get right is with themselves. I think most of my own anecdotal evidence, what I've seen in my own personal story, I think most entrepreneurs are very much driven by pain to begin with. Like the normal, or most high achievers are generally, there's some form of pain that sort of initially gets the activation energy across the board. And one thing I've done personally, I see a lot of entrepreneurs who don't have good alignment within themselves, and they are more susceptible to have that emptiness seeking external validation, is that they don't have a good relationship with themselves. And there's a lot of avoiding a lot of aspects of self, a lot of self-punishment. The inner critic's like fucking ruthless. Yeah. And I think you can't have that base, even if you're like mentally strong, you're smart, you can make money, you're a good talker, you're charismatic. If you still have that, if you got that really tough inner critic, you're going to fucking punish yourself somehow. And you can't attract, I think if you've got a fucked up relationship with yourself, even if you're successful by metrics, you can't attract quality people in your life. In terms of in business, you won't attract quality business partners. They're the people I find that always tend to get fucked over. They always attract shit staff. They always, things always happen to them.
Because it's inauthenticity.
Yeah.
It's like you like this part of you, but you don't like that part of you.
Yeah.
And that's, I can really relate to that in my own journey. It's been such a huge part of my own process because it's the father wound, really. Ultimately, it's conditional love that one may have received growing up through, when you perform on the field, or you perform in academics, you're the man. Like, well done, son. But you fail, you have a shit game, don't talk to me. Like, and we internalize all of that as this internal relationship. That is what the inner critic is a relationship with our father, in a sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
From your level of knowledge now and upskilling, do you want kids?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you want kids, cool.
Yeah.
So when you have kids, in particular, let's just say you have a son, what would your approach to raising a son be?
Challenge. Needs to have challenge in his life. He needs, I want him to learn that he is controlling his own reality by what he chooses to believe is possible. So I want to feed all of the positive beliefs about he is capable of. I also want to feed the perception that he is never losing and he's never failing. There is always growth happening, and it's up to him to find where that growth is, even when he's struggling, even when he's in pain. There is growth happening for this. This is not wrong or bad. There is no such thing as that. There just is. So I want to show him his true essential nature, which is free of duality, free of right and wrong, free of up and down. It's just his essential nature is just one with everything. I think if you can help a kid understand that early, then they can see the struggles, the pain, the depths of life. It's just a part of reality. That's just nature.
What would you celebrate
in him?
Yeah. What would be, because I think there's always probably going to be inherent bias.
For sure.
The things that we like about them.
For sure.
Or things that we value personally. So what would you, or even whether it's certain traits, or if they did have certain achievements, or they had certain things that they did well.
Yeah, the thing I'm so grateful for that my dad gave to me, that he celebrated in me, was if you want something, you got to go out and practice. Go out and put in the reps. Go and do it. So I would celebrate like showing up consistently in an area. If you want something, if you want to achieve, because a kid is going to eventually have all these desires and aspirations, right? And I want them to understand, and like because you're a super successful guy as well. That's the positive of you could say negative of the inner critic or the father wound. The positive is like we are fucking driven and we'll achieve whatever our mind is set out to, because we know what's required to do that. If you can give that to a kid while also still reminding him that like, hey, your worth isn't tied to your result. Like you fail, that doesn't mean anything about you.
Definitely. And I think sports can be a good vehicle.
For sure.
That, like team and individual.
Yeah.
They both have their own.
Yeah. Dude, I reckon jiu-jitsu. I reckon getting my kid in jiu-jitsu would be a great thing, just for their own kind of just embodiment.
100%. How's yours going?
Oh, it's inconsistent. Funny that, eh?
One's been the same, right? I was going close to the finish.
Yeah,
that mine's still pretty.
Yeah, but you're way further along in that than you. But
what's it about jiu-jitsu that draws you in?
I think it's the competitive challenge piece that I felt playing soccer at a high level growing up here. You don't realize how important that is until you stop, and how much we need that as men to just be like, just tested, put to the fucking challenge with another man. You do it on the field, but you can do it at jiu-jitsu with another guy who's trying to kill you, trying to choke you out in a sense. And I think you learn so much about yourself through those environments. So I've enjoyed what's unlocked in me, to be honest.
What was your first session like?
It's really uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, the mind has a lot of resistance to it. It actually reminds me of that feeling growing up when you're 15 years old, but you're playing with the under 18s. You're training on a Tuesday night, and the mind's like, I really don't want to fucking go to training. So it's cold, it's raining, I don't want to go. Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna be, it's gonna be scary. But you go to the training session, you finish it, and you feel fucking great afterwards. Jiu-Jitsu is kind of the same thing. There's not really, you don't really look for, at least when you're starting out, you don't really look forward to going there and getting choked out multiple times. But it's in showing up and knowing like, okay, there's growth here in me just putting myself in these environments, and that's what I love about it.
Big time.
For now.
And it's such a metaphor for life and for business, and there's so many lessons on it. Like there's no such thing as you just always get better. Like you get better, then you get worse, and it doesn't matter if you just like go balls to the wall for 2 years. It's like, I know I've been doing it for 11 years now. So I'm stuck on my 4th stripe for my brown belt. So that's probably give me a 5th stripe, and you're not supposed to.
Still very impressive, man.
So like, and I've seen it, like, and the game evolve and change and different things. You see guys that come through and they're like whites and blues, and they're like fucking 5-6 times a week. They're doing double sessions, and then they fall out. And you see that in life as well. Like people just go hard, and they just can't sustain it. And it's such like a thing of just show up and just be consistent. Like even if it's not perfect all the time, you just got to keep turning up. And some of the guys it is like business or anything like that. You can have people who have natural gifts that they're just going to do better, but then you get people who aren't as gifted, but they just show up and they keep showing, and their learning curve's going to be a lot, like it's going to be a lot slower. Yeah. It's going to take them a lot longer to get there. But I remember there's this one guy that I trained with, and he's like a fucking accountant or something. When we started, like the most unathletic accountant, where you just literally beat him with like one hand. And then like he's literally, he probably started a couple of years, like 3 years after me. And he's one of those guys that, I didn't go to train for probably like with him for like 3 years. And I came back after he'd been training for like 5-6 years. And then you're just like, fuck.
Wow.
He's actually all right.
Wow.
He's actually all right. Like he's giving, I still have your way with him, but like just like, cause I have like size on him at 30, I've been training and that sort of stuff. And then like another couple of years goes, and he's always speaking like tapping you. Wow. And you're just going like, even someone with like such little natural attributes, if they just show up, even if they're just shit, and they just show up with humility and just keep rocking up, like eventually things compound.
What kept you motivated during those times with jiu-jitsu? Like you've been at it for so long.
To be fair, it's the one aspect of my life that I'm almost out of alignment with. Yeah, like work and like me going to the gym. I can go to the gym now. It's me work, I'll just show up. Me doing everything, I could show up. But jiu-jitsu, it's one of these things for me. When I'm in a good routine with it, I can't imagine life without it. But I've always been someone in jiu-jitsu where I haven't ran how I shine, always just turned up and kept training. I've had probably up till purple belt, or I did. But once I sort of got my brown, it's a bit more sporadic. When there's a grading, you'd ramp it up a bit. You get your tip or your belt, and then you pull it back. Or you'd build up towards a competition, do well in a competition, then have a bit of time off. And then, so I've always been a bit more like ramping up towards things. For jiu-jitsu, I've always, probably for life as well, I've just needed goals. And when I've stopped competing, once I got my brown belt, I stopped competing. I feel like that's something I want to revisit now. Because when I'm competing and when I'm doing privates with my coach and working towards something, I find my level just goes boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I find it's like that in business as well.
Dude, so
definitely, like when I'm getting coached and I see such like, and these days my ability to find the right mentors and find the right coaches and pay for the right people, get in the right rooms, like be able to identify what skills I want to actually improve is getting better and better. And the help is getting so much better. So I'm just seeing that exponential growth. And that's up with anything.
It's a pattern. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think just find, like anything, I mean, not everyone needs privates, but for me, I'm pretty time poor where I train's quite far away from where I live. So it's like, for me, the best thing is probably to have something like competitions to work towards, which I'm a long way off in life. I've got to probably drop about 10 kilos and probably put a good 3-4 months of training in. But that's something I want to work towards and really get the black belt before the end of the year.
Next time I'm here and we have more time, we need to get on the mat.
Absolutely.
I'd love to learn from you.
Absolutely. How can you tell if a man's operating from pain or purpose?
His relationship with his body.
Probably more his
relationship with his body.
Okay.
Will determine that.
What do you mean?
Because if you're operating from pain, you're usually ignoring the signs your body's giving you. Your body is usually like, oh, my body's saying this, but I'm gonna like keep distracting. I'm gonna keep pushing through. Like there's an element, pushing through is great in times, but purpose is comes from a deep listening, a deep knowing. So this is what I'm meant to do. This is my path. And you can only get to that when you've listened to nature, which is your body. Everything has a purpose in nature, you know?
Yeah.
Animal, trees, plants. Our body is a part of that too. So I believe through listening to the body, you come back, you almost get more in alignment with source. And then that's where you get the guidance from. And then when you operate from that place, I think we can live a lot longer than what we think, because we're not compromising
absolutely
the body.
And we attract more flow in our lives and more, the relationships are better, they're deeper, less toxicity. And you can only thrive through relationships.
100%
as well.
Yeah, 100%.
If you and one of the big changes, particularly as I've for the last couple of years, as I've gone on a far greater, especially in the last 12 months, really started to understand myself, my alignment better and better and better. Just attracting the right people. And it just like, in your life, whether it's, romantically, whether it's professionally, whether it's friendships, and you just sort of see the compound effect of that. Whereas like previously, years ago, it was just always hustle. Like I still had good mates and that, but like there was an element of me that wasn't quite, and I was just operating too much from pain. And I was seeking pain.
Yeah.
And I would operate work, I would use work as a vehicle for pain unconsciously.
Right. And you're aware of where that was coming from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whereas, and then there was inherently a lot of guilt around rest, guilt around not working all the time.
That's the shadow, right?
Yeah.
That's all of the stuff that your mind has subconsciously is labeled as bad. Well, my mind does that too. So that's the reprogramming that we're going through, and a lot of high performers go through, which is reprogramming rest, stillness, relaxation, doing nothing as growth.
It's essential.
Yeah. It's just a perception.
And the weird thing is that's the discomfort for people who are wired like that. But for other people,
I know. It's like, I look at Amanda sometimes, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Wish I could lay in bed till 11 o'clock.
For you, I've seen you, we've known each other for years. I've really seen you grow and shift a lot. What's probably the biggest thing that shifted the most for you personally in the last 6 months?
Yeah. I did ayahuasca in March. And I've done 2 Cambo sessions, one with Theo, one before Aya. And I wouldn't say it's the plant medicines that shifted. Like I had an experience, but it was the back end of those experiences where I noticed like some things shifting within myself. I feel like the biggest shift that keeps happening for me is remembering of things that I already know or had learnt. And it was just reintegrating those knowings into this next phase or chapter of my life. For example, I just sensed that some things in business that were changing. Some things like weren't in alignment for me anymore in terms of like how I was operating in my business. And I was very much falling into the pattern of looking for solutions. Like, oh, okay, my business isn't at the monetary goal that I want it to be at. Let me watch all these YouTube videos and learn from all these other gurus and experts on how to fix my lead flow problem, right? The pattern of looking outward to fix a perceived problem that I was experiencing in my business. And the shift that I had was, bro, I don't need to change what I'm doing. It's who I'm being that needs to change. It's if I want to hit this next income target in my business, am I being that person that can hold that embodies that? No strategy or YouTube video or business coach can give you that. Because you can I've tried so many different strategies. None of them will work unless you're embodying that frequency. So the moment I realized that, I was like, oh man, stop watching the YouTube videos, bro. Go back to figuring out who do I need to become? What's this new frequency that I need to bring into my life and in my business? And it doesn't fucking matter what strategy I pick, it will work. And if anything, I think it's better to take in less strategic advice and more find your own unique path. So that's been a big thing for me recently, is stepping more into that. And I've already known that. I've gone through that cycle so many times.
You need to
rewind it again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I went to a branding workshop with Christo the other week, a couple of weeks ago, and it's just funny, even with, we both do quite a bit of content, and then going for that, just getting, because I wanted clarity around it. Essentially, I was, a thing I was dealing with the last probably 3 to 6 months was an identity shift. From going from being hustler, chiropractor, business owner on the tools, full-time, that was my identity, to shifting more into a more thoughtful, strategic, better clarity of thought, less hustle, more getting paid for like being present and being thoughtful with my decisions, as opposed to, and being less on the tools, which that was what I was looking to build towards. But also there was a part of my old identity unconsciously that I didn't want to let go. And that's obviously being rewarded and celebrated for all those years of everything I did.
Yeah.
And then now as you get off the tools more, then there's that unconscious attachment to, that's the old identity, not letting go. So for me, it was like, I want to help men and coach men. I want to still be growing business and be entrepreneurial. Then I was like, I've still got a little part of me that's the chiropractor.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have clarity around what that looks like in terms of, content, personal brand, etc. So that's one of the big things I went there for. And coming out of it, I realized that it's just, you just become, there's yourself. You don't have to cut parts of you off and, was a chiro, now I'm this. It's like, no, you are who you are. You're just expanding. You're expanding your personal brand, expanding yourself from, that was a chapter, but that's still who you are. And now you're still growing the business, still growing into like helping men, still growing into understanding more and more about alignment and helping other people find blind spots. This is what you're doing. It's like,
Sure.
And when you're producing, content, it's like, get back to, like, as you said, don't be so like just fully methodical. Got to have some systems and structure, but also go back to like what genuinely, how you're different. And what you genuinely like talking about. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about like just creating content for other people and different demographics and that. So just like create shit that is stuff that you care about, that
Oh, it's interesting. It's such an interesting nuance that, because there's some people that, I see it on YouTube as well, because I'm trying to grow on YouTube right now. And I'm stepping into that path, and I can see there's a lot of advice for growing on YouTube, which is like, don't make content for you. Make it based on what this person that you're targeting wants. And I get that to some level, but if the frequency is not there, again, if that authentic energy of like, I love this, this has to come out of me, then that resonance won't be there. You can, and maybe you will attract those people by making content that you think you should be making, but is that really going to be aligned with who you want to work with? It's all in there, it just comes out when you're aligned.
You don't even know who exactly you've got to work with.
Yeah.
As you grow. And I think the hard thing is, you don't want to go, I want to pivot my whole identity to this demographic, and then go, shit, it's actually these people here, which are a bit of a spin off of that.
Because we're constantly changing. Because like, you can hone in on this one specific individual, but if you're constantly changing, then you want to be coaching the person who's kind of a few steps ahead of you, or behind you, sorry. Yeah. So as long as you just make content about your own lessons and learnings and growth and package it up in a way that can be received, then you'll always find the right people.
Free time.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually realize because I had a lot of ideas and thoughts, but then being able to execute them, I didn't realize until I actually was waiting and had Christo. He goes, all right, I looked at some of your content. He goes, how you show up in person is very different to how you show up on camera. And I went, and I had Bernie tell me that once. When someone tells you and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. And then like, not enough. And then when he told me that, he's like, when I meet you, like I just know you're onto something, and you're gonna, like, you've got this magnetic pull towards you. He goes, but when you're on camera, you're too rigid, and you're not, who you are isn't coming through. Mm-hmm. So I left that workshop, one, understanding more about like alignment and where I'm taking my personal brand, but two, it's like, just create content, like we said, about what I'm into, but also when I'm doing it, just genuinely feel the content, not just think, organize, like, ChatGPT, like my own thought process and that sort of thing, but just like organize it and create, like, do things like create your hooks, but just, you got to actually like feel the content.
Great.
And get in whatever state. If it's something I'm pissed off about, get in that state before. It's just hard to go from like neutral to whatever that state is.
Feel the content, that's good.
Yeah, and they're not trying to. And I was more just like volume. I just punch out like 12 different reels in like 2 hours and just fucking smash content. But you're actually better off doing like 2.
That's why I love YouTube.
Yeah.
That's why YouTube is the complete inverse of short form.
Yeah. And that's where like things are going now. And they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what I listen. It's just like, as long as we're, growing, developing, take people on your journey, create content that's like interesting to you, and just get better at delivering it.
That's it. That's why I've stopped making content on TikTok, because I didn't want to feed that crack machine that people are on, because people are going, think about why people go onto these platforms. People go onto YouTube to learn mainly, but people go on TikTok to distract. Why am I going to go on there and just make this like spiritual entertainment for people if they're not even doing anything with it most of the time? Some people do, 5% probably do, but 95% are just on there distracting themselves. So go where I would be, which is right now on YouTube. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. What do you reckon would happen if a lot of male content creators actually spoke about what they really thought?
I think we would probably uncover that there's struggle. There's a lot of struggle, at least for me, that I find, you see on Instagram. Myself probably don't share enough of the struggle, to be honest, because it's very easy to just make this type of content that portrays that my relationship's epic, my business is great, when it's not like that. There is constant ups and downs, flux that we've alluded to already, that if we were to speak more about that, I would be way more authentic. I'd be way more, he's a real human. And as a result, would probably make more money and get more clients. I think that's the general direction that we're all going. We just want to be around real humans who just like honor the fact that they haven't got it figured all out, but they're on a path to being the best version of them. It's not easy to do on content.
Oh, because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, because you don't want to share. You don't want to share while you're in the struggle. You want to share while you're out of the struggle, because there's nuance to it. Because if you're a coach and you're saying, man, my business is fucked. I'm struggling. I haven't figured it out. I'm in it right now. I'm in it. I don't know. I wouldn't probably look at that person like, he's the man I'm going to hire to help me through my shit. But if I've been through the struggle and I go, hey guys, something happened to me last year. I hit this point in my life where I was rock bottom and something happened. You tell that story of like, there was some context, there was adversity, there was resolution, and there was some lessons that I took from it. And you tell that as content, that's where it's at. I tell those, whenever I make carousels like that, they crush the best because it's real. Telling a story.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of contextually there, because I guess a lot of the time when you're going through things, it might have been something you went through a week ago. Yeah, it's always probably on the other side of it.
For sure.
Or you're very much progressing through it. Yeah. Not you stuck in a spiral of like.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you want to create, but people can do that. If your personal brand is built around just like radical honesty about everything that you're going through moment to moment, but it depends on the brand that wants to be built,
Look at that.
Yeah.
And for you, what's probably been the biggest struggle from actually really building it up towards like close to 500,000 as opposed to when you first started? What's probably the biggest pressure that you found?
Probably just still like having to feed this machine. As a consumer, consumers are going on there addicted to consuming, but as creators, you're going on there addicted to creating. There's nothing wrong with creating, but if it's an addiction, where it's like, I got to create something today for the platform. We didn't post anything. We got to, coming out of that, because I just made a decision with Amanda, like I refuse to let this fucking platform decide how I feel. And if I don't post something today, who cares? Who cares?
How do you make sure you don't become mechanical?
In the creation, in the content? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you get validation from the posts that really, really do well, which means, okay, let's make more of them. But if it's not inspiring to make them right now, but I'm getting so much validation from them, how do we, that's where there's a pivot. We've pivoted a lot with the content that we've been making, which is how do we make it fresh and new while still feeling authentic to us, but also honoring the fact that this type of content's crushing right now. And I like to intertwine it with different varied formats, posting formats. It's okay if there's one format crushes, if it's not my favorite format to make, but it crushes and gets millions of views. Cool, we'll make one of those a week. But outside of that, I want to be like fully aligned with what feels inspiring.
Yeah, I get it. Like, because I went through the same thing with chiropractic. My first thing was obviously doing chiro content, and then I found types of adjustments that really crushed and types of different things. And eventually, if I just went, like, I just purely want views, I could have just 10x'd all that and just repped it out and just kept on getting like millions and millions. But for me, I was just like, that's fucking boring, man.
What was the adjustments that got the most views?
Sinus release.
Oh, yeah.
Sinus release did well. I went to 22 million. That was all right. that one did well. Like TMJ adjustments did well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like sinus, TMJ. I mean, the wide strap ones did right, but not as good as like sinus and TMJ.
Yeah. Did business? What occurred in business after you got that level of virality?
Interesting, because I already had big client base before
Yeah.
any content. So for me, it's like, it's funny because a lot of people, if they look at it, they go, "Oh, you're doing content so you can get clients." Like, I was already at capacity before I even started. Like, you know, I was already like, as a operator, I was at, like, as an individual, I was at capacity.
Yeah.
When I started doing content, I was like, I didn't do it for that. I did it for fun.
Yeah.
And a bit of like videos for branding and like a bit of lead gen, like, but not like,
Yeah.
I was generally pretty good. I didn't really have to do too much. And for me, the beauty was it introduced me to doing content. And then I got familiar around the camera. I got familiar talking. I was dog shit when I started.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still no expert, but I was like, I'd freak out when that camera is. And you see people now that as soon as you put a camera in front, they're just like,
Yeah.
fucking,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? But you remember like 5-6 years ago, I was like, fuck, I was the same. I'd just be like complete robot in front of camera.
Until you're becoming in the process. Then.
Yeah. And then like Lisa got comfortable with being in front of the camera. Then you got used to like banter with clients. We did a video at that time. But then when I actually started talking about like doing the podcast and started talking about men stuff, I was like, oh shit, this isn't like, I'm not a black belt here. Like, I'm a black belt as a car. I've been doing that shit for like, I've been doing it for 15 years. Even back then I was doing it for like, 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that like in my sleep. So then you go into a space, it's like a passion, but you're not super, super knowledgeable. So then there's that insecurity.
For sure.
That you're not like, you know a lot more than most people, but you still don't really. And I think that's for me when I started podcasting, there was probably that insecurity. I was like, oh, I know more, but I don't. And now I look back and I'm like, you didn't really know what the fuck you're talking about. You had like a passion. Yeah. And that's where it started from. And then I was like, okay, I had to like really actually start to understand, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, and understanding like healing, understanding where real alignment comes from, understanding psychology deeper. And then the more I've understood that's just benefited my life, regardless of content. And now I sit here and I'm like, I know that there's so many levels I've got to get to, and you know that you feel the same. We're just probably like just literally scratching the surface of your real understanding of being able to operate. Because a real master, you see them when you work with a coach or mentor who's like fucking world-class and phenomenal. Their ability, they don't have to like ask a client many things. They ask them maybe 2 questions, and then and the person has the epiphany. Yeah. You're like, you're a fucking master. Like, whether it's someone in branding, someone like when I was over in Vegas and like with Hamosi and seeing him work through people, and like Connor Beaton, I did his course. You see him, he's great in the men's space. You see people who are truly like, they've been doing it for years and they're real masters of their craft, and you go, oh shit, there's like just fucking levels to this shit, and it's exciting.
Very much.
You know, it's exciting. It's exciting to so now I've when I do content now in this space, I've accepted, I don't have to be fucking perfect. I don't have to have all my shit 100% in check all the time. And like, it's okay if you slip up with other areas. And as long as you're just continually like upskilling, growing, having compassion on yourself. And the thing is, the biggest thing for me is probably self-compassion, which I had none before. And now that like I've got more self-compassion on myself, life has got a lot easier.
For sure.
It's a lot more easier.
For sure.
Not unnecessarily bringing in chaos.
Yeah, and that's now you can keep that beautiful quality of just like throwing yourself in arenas all the time and just embracing the suck for a little bit and be like, I don't know right now, but I will figure it out. Yeah, and I admire that about you, bro. You've thrown yourself in so many different arenas and always willing to get better. It's an epic quality.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Something finally before we wrap it up, I'd love to talk about is tall poppy syndrome. It's part of Australian culture. So how has tall poppy syndrome shown up for you in your journey?
At the start, mainly. At the start, I think probably on one level or some level, every man, I think women go through this too. Is it women female thing too? Yeah. 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 More prevalent, I guess, in the UK and Australia than other places in the world.
In Australia.
But for me, I think every person is going to have to go through at some stage in their journey when they try to break away from this identity that they've constructed and how they're used to being perceived by other people. And when you try to break away, for me, when I tried to break away from this identity of Jordan Candlish, the accountant, soccer player, hangs out with his mates and drinks a couple of beers and does these certain activities, and now I'm trying to make content and position myself as this other individual, then there's always going to be people are going to try and they were trying to pull me back down into this old version. I felt a lot of embarrassment. I was like really afraid of actually owning the fact of who I was and who I was stepping into, probably because I was still in a transition phase. I didn't really know who I was. And I think that's the hard part, to really step into this next version. There's going to be a phase where you probably don't really know what's happening. You don't really know who you're becoming. And that's where the top poppy syndrome will get a lot of people before the journey even begins, because they'll just succumb to the criticism or the shame or the judgment from the people around him. The breakthrough for me that got me through it was knowing who I truly was, who I really was. And as we spoke about at the start of the podcast, which is like, I'm the one that's up there watching this whole thing play out. Like, none of this is me. None of these emotions are me. None of these thoughts or identities in me. Who am I really at the core of it? Well, I'm the center. You know, I'm the Tao. I'm the infinite nothing and everything at the same time. And it sounds like a concept. It is a concept to the mind until you actually rest and contemplate on it and really experience that and know it. When you actually operate from the place of knowing that's who I am, nothing can really touch you. It's the only way to truly be free. So I think it's just coming back to that. But who fucking cares? Who cares?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's once you have that ultimate form of self-acceptance and authenticity, but it's like it's so rare, particularly in like a culture like ours in Australia, for like some to really embrace authentically who they are, and be doing something different that's non-conventional.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing, is like, if you're I could talk about this for hours. Like you know, I feel like it's one of my, I love being Australian. But it's probably my biggest chip on my shoulder about being Australian, is that you can't, like I spoke with someone like last week, an American mate, and I was telling him about tall poppy syndrome, explaining it, and like he didn't get it. He's like, in America, people celebrate each other for having a crack, and whereas I'm like, it's not like that in Australia. Australia's like a box, and you got to operate in the box. If you start being different, whether you're a bit bigger, a bit different, a bit louder, you're what you said was a perfect example. You're an accountant. You might go, I want to try comedy. I want to try doing content. Or I want to be an actor. I want to be a musician. It's like or I want to start my own business. It's one of these things. It just gets shut on.
Yeah, because you go back to where it comes from. Yeah. Right? As a little kid, your dad tells you good boys are seen but not heard. That's what my dad used to say to me.
Yes, sir.
So it's like, we've learned that our expression is not to be heard. Like, shut it down. No one wants to hear you.
Yeah.
So it's programmed into the subconscious.
Be humble, be modest.
Yeah.
Be humble. Like,
it's just like bullshit. It's our shit. Yeah.
It's such bullshit humility. Like, sometimes that's not actually being like being out there and expressing yourself and actually being yourself is not not exhibiting humility.
Yeah, right?
And it's just it's such a cultural thing. There's so much resentment built within the culture, and I find it's one of those things that, like, which what you said, you hit the nail on the head. It's like when you need the support the most is at the start, and that's probably when you don't know yourself, because you're going in a transition phase from like what you're used to whatever this new thing that you want to try, and that's when you need the support. And you don't have the skills, you don't have the reps, and you probably don't have the self-assuredness, as well. So that's why it's so, like, I get so passionate about, like, just not shitting on people for having a crack and doing something, because once I find there's this like hockey stick, once people get to a level where like they'll get shut on at the start, get shut on in the middle, and then if they do somehow come out of it and they're like world class and they're phenomenal, it's like Australians start loving them.
I know.
It's like, what happened on the other one?
Yes.
It's like, perfect example is like actors like, Heath Ledger, Hugh Jackman. Can you imagine if you're in your early 20s, you said
so much,
oh yeah. Imagine if you're in your early 20s and you're like, oh, I'm acting,
and
you tell the boys, oh, I'm stopping because I want to pursue acting. Get shut all over.
Yeah, I know.
Or like, oh, I'm filming, doing content. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's,
you know what I mean. And until you actually, not even show that it's that you have to actually make it on a level that's, and it's like, oh, okay, now we support you. So fuck you, now I'm bad. So I think it's just like, just allow people to have their fucking journey,
It's true. And isolate yourself a little bit if you need to.
Yeah.
It's healthy. It's very healthy.
Yeah. And for people like that,
time,
just hang around.
Yeah.
They will need to detach from a lot of their circles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because other people, and sometimes some people, they come from a good place when they're trying to pull them back. because because under their knowledge of how things go, they actually think they're making a mistake.
Correct.
I.e. parents.
Correct.
And they come from a place of love, but they just don't know what's best. So they're trying to protect, but then they'll try and pull. So you have, you got people that care about you who don't understand. So it all goes back to your own compass of who you are.
100%.
I think, and the more you know who you are, you just don't give a shit.
Nailed it. Yeah. That's it right there. That's make that the theme of this episode. Know who you are.
Better way to finish.
Yeah.